As a mission, we want to put solar panels on every roof and batteries in every home in Europe. Like I said, we're already in 13 countries. 4 years ago, we were barely 30 people and present in a couple of countries. When we decided to open Spain, one of the businesses I run, we had this idea of whether the software would work and make things affordable for customers. And now that we are in 13 countries, we can proudly say that it has worked and that the project scales in a digital way. Right? But we wanted to, like I said, put these panels on every roof in Europe through the easiest and most affordable way. The easiest being digital, online, something that we're all used to these days, just with a few clicks, and also by doing a lot of the processes, doing a lot of the steps digitally. That hopefully translates into final savings for the customer and a better price. Better prices means cheaper energy for you, and it also means more families being able to afford these installations. So for us, it expands the market and it helps basically prove the value of the product. So that's the mission. That's what we want to do over the coming years. And let me share some numbers with you and how we do things here at Otovo. Otovo right now is on a run rate of possibly doing about 100 million euros in business. We are more or less double the business every year. Year on year now we're talking about 160, but the ongoing pace is doubling that. We added 10,000 new installations in 2022, and we're present in 13 countries. Just very recently in February, we went public on the Oslo Stock Exchange in the main bourse there. And completing a journey of a digital startup focused on energy, from growing the business, achieving product market fit expansion, and then finally, being traded publicly. So we think we're still very early on in this game. We think 2030 is a bit going to be like 1995, where barely people had. Few people had a mobile phone, and 5 years later, everybody had one in their pockets. We think that's going to happen in 2030. It won't be people carrying around panels on their backs, but we think that every home, every family will have one of these systems come 10 years, just because, well, as we'll see in a minute, it's cheaper and cleaner than any other alternative. So it's ripe for disruption, the residential energy market. So why solar? Why would anybody do this? Well, the simple answer is just economics. It's just cheaper to produce solar energy on your roof than through any other means, even means that require taking the energy to your home. Through distributed generation, by putting these panels on your roof, you're going to be creating electricity or generating electricity cheaper than if you buy it off the grid. So why wouldn't you? As long as you can make the installations affordable enough that those savings will pay them back, then that's interesting. Also, there's few alternatives versus other methods of having a coal generation or a thermal or a nuclear installation right on your roof. That's not viable, but you can have a few panels, right? And that's affordable. It's clean. It's the cheapest way. This helps us obviously accelerate the energy transition that we need to make. We will be switching in the coming years sources of electricity that generate CO2 with sources of electricity that just take advantage of what's already there, and with a much lower cost. I don't come from the energy world. I saw these numbers. I made the numbers myself when I was looking at opening up Otovo in Spain, which was the first country outside the Nordics that Otovo considered expanding into, and to validate its promise. And the proposition to a family was so strong, so clear. They said, this product has to sell. This solution has to sell. And sure enough, a lot of things have happened in the past 3 or 4 years that we did not foresee. COVID, people working more from homes, thus consuming more energy. The war on Ukraine that lifted energy prices way beyond the reach of many families. And it just accelerated something, but that the basics, the unit economics that we looked at 3 or 4 years ago are still valid, are still solid. And that's why we think this will continue improving for the end customer in the coming years. What is solar rooftop? We could get into a discussion of panels and inverters and how you connect them to the grid and so forth. But to our customers, we just say, look, it's as if you were getting a black box And this black box is going to save you between 30 and 50% of your energy needs. You will stop buying 30 to 50% of the electricity you buy off the grid. If you add a battery, and this system is well dimensioned, that might be going up to 80 or 90%. It's as simple as that. And as the energy you're going to be producing is cheaper than the one you buy off the grid, those savings are the ones that pay off for the system. And within a few years, you'll have paid it off. It is basically a financial product. It's a product that saves you money. And sure enough, on top of that, it's green, it's sustainable. It helps in this energy transition. So it's a no-brainer for the majority of homes. Granted, 10, 15 years ago, it was more expensive. That's why only very few people would put them on their roofs. Now, it is clearly the cheapest way. And so that's what's pushing the development of rooftop solar all across the world, in the United States, in Europe, Latin America, et cetera, et cetera. Everywhere you go, this is happening. And we think that the 2020s are going to be the decade of solar. What is not rooftop solar? So many people think, oh, that's great. Let me put in one of these systems. Let me get off the grid and achieve self-sufficiency. That is not a great solution. And it's not a great solution because having a system, the sun is not reliable. You might spend dozens of days with sun, but 4 or 5 days without sun might mean you don't have energy in your home, sending your home back to the Middle Ages. I don't think many people would be happy with that, right? And as a solution to that, putting extra panels so you would generate more, and extra batteries so you could store that energy for those cloudy days or dark days is not optimal. You would be overspending versus what you need. So it's a lot more efficient to put in the solar system and remain connected to the grid to handle the peaks, to ensure that your system is going to be working, or you're going to have electricity 24 hours in the day, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So it's not a path to self-sufficiency. We don't recommend this. We don't do it to our customers. We don't think that's the best return on their money. It's also not a business unto itself. Some people call and say, hey, let me put solar panels on my roof. I'll just generate electricity and live off that. Unfortunately, the numbers are not that great to sell your own energy. It doesn't scale. And you're just going to be generating a few cents or your dollars every day on with solar. So it's not a way for you just install this big system and fall asleep and use it as income. Also, many systems, grid owners around the world, they compensate your cost, or they compensate your expenses in the invoices they send you, but they never send you money. So you can't really make cash off these systems. It's, like I said, what rooftop solar is, it's a savings tool and a complement to an existing grid connection that will help you save